The city of Ilithar floated above its planet like a jewel suspended in the sky. Towers of shimmering crystal stretched higher than any human eye could follow, and energy bridges linked them in a web of light. The city sparkled under the twin suns, reflecting hues of violet, gold, and emerald. From above, it looked like a dream, but the reality inside was far from peaceful. Princess Lysara paced in her private chamber, her long fingers tapping a polished surface. The council summit was about to begin, and tensions were higher than ever. The galaxy was changing. New species, new alliances, and old rivalries were colliding in ways the council could barely manage. But nothing in her years of preparation could have readied her for the arrival of a human diplomat. Adrian Cole stepped off the transport pod onto the polished platform, his boots clicking softly. He was human, tall, lean, and unassuming. His clothes were simple but clean. A navy blue suit that seemed almost modest compared to the opulent robes of alien ambassadors. His eyes, a deep shade of brown, scanned the surroundings without hesitation. There was no awe, no fear, no hesitation, just calm confidence. The alien security officers exchanged glances. Humans were known to be fragile, indecisive, and easily intimidated. Usually, they trembled in the presence of alien nobility, but this one walked forward, as if he owned the sky bridges themselves. Princess Lysara watched from behind a curtain. She had never seen a human behave this way. Most visitors stumbled over the energy threshold, faltered under the alien gaze, or avoided speaking at all. But Adrian's posture was perfect. His voice, when he greeted the reception officers, was calm and clear, commanding respect without demanding it. "He is different," whispered one of the princess's aides. "Yes," Lysara replied quietly, "and that is worrying." Adrian's first steps into the council hall drew attention immediately. The room was vast, circular, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch into the clouds. Alien delegates of countless species sat around, their appearances ranging from shimmering crystal forms to dark, shadow-like shapes. They whispered among themselves, judging this human who dared to enter their world without hesitation. The council head, an imposing alien with 4 eyes and a voice that resonated like a cathedral bell, rose to greet him. Most humans would have lowered their gaze, bowed, or even faltered in fear. Adrian, however, looked directly into the council head's eyes, his expression calm. "Welcome, Ambassador Cole," the council head said, his tone heavy with expectation. "We hope your species is prepared for the discussions ahead." "I am," Adrian replied, his voice steady. "I came to listen, understand, and find a path that benefits both our people." A murmur of disbelief spread across the hall. Did he not tremble? Did he not flinch under the authority of centuries-old alien traditions? Lysara leaned forward, her curiosity growing. There was something in his calm, almost fearless demeanor that unsettled her. Humans were not known for diplomacy at this level. They were clever, yes, but boldness of this kind was almost unheard of. The session began. The council discussed border disputes, trade agreements, and security treaties. Alien delegates spoke in long, flowing sentences filled with complex references and unspoken threats. Most humans would have been lost, overwhelmed by the pace and complexity. But Adrian kept up. He asked questions that were direct and thoughtful. He answered inquiries with logic and precision. And through it all, he never showed fear. Lysara watched as the tension in the room grew. Certain delegates tried subtle intimidation, leaning closer, using cultural gestures meant to confuse and dominate him. Yet Adrian remained steady. He mirrored their gestures politely but maintained his composure. Each time he spoke, he earned more whispers, more astonished glances. By the end of the morning session, the human diplomat had done something no human had done before. He earned the attention of every council member, including those who had intended to dismiss him outright. Later, in a private moment, Lysara approached him. The doors to her observation balcony closed behind her, isolating them from the bustling hall below. "You handle yourself well," she said, Her voice was soft, curious rather than threatening. Adrian turned, offering a polite smile. I try to be respectful of traditions while still being honest. I believe honesty is universal. Lysara tilted her head. Most humans would cower. Why are you different? I suppose it is practice, he said. And a belief that fear is rarely useful. It clouds judgment and wastes time. The princess studied him. She expected arrogance, but instead, she found humility combined with quiet confidence. It was unsettling and fascinating. She had grown up surrounded by beings who relied on power and intimidation, who ruled through fear or prestige, and here was a human, small and unarmed, standing as if he were as important as any of them. Their conversation was interrupted by a council aide. Princess Lysara, the next session is about to begin. She nodded, still watching Adrian as he prepared to enter the next hall. There was an unspoken understanding between them. His courage was not just in the council chambers, it was in every careful step he took in this alien world. The afternoon session began with a more delicate topic, the future of a contested star system. Several alien factions had conflicting claims, and tensions had risen to dangerous levels. Most delegates expected Adrian to falter under the pressure, to show fear when his species' future was indirectly threatened. But Adrian remained calm. He spoke of humanity's interest in cooperation, shared resources, and peace, all without suggesting weakness or naivety. His words were clear, direct, and surprising. He did not plead for approval, nor did he bow to tradition excessively. Instead, he treated each alien delegate with respect while standing firm on his points. Princess Lysara felt a stirring she had never experienced before. The humans were small, fragile by most standards. Yet here was one who carried himself with the steadiness of a mountain. She felt something unfamiliar, a mixture of admiration and uncertainty. Could a human really influence the council's decision? Could one person's courage really shift the balance of an entire political system? As the sun set over Ilithar, casting long shadows across the floating towers, the session ended. Delegates departed in whispers. Some impressed, others angered. Adrian remained composed, bowing politely to each delegate before leaving the hall. Lysara followed him, curiosity burning brighter. She asked herself questions she had never asked before. Could courage be stronger than experience? Could humility outweigh fear? Could humanity, so underestimated, truly be a force the galaxy had ignored at its peril? She walked along the balcony, watching him disappear into the corridors below. For the first time, she felt the stirring of something new. A recognition that humans, though seemingly small and fragile, might carry within them a strength unlike any other species she had known. The night fell over Ilithar, but Lysara could not sleep. Her mind replayed every moment, every calm word, every fearless gesture. The human diplomat had changed something in her perception, not through force, not through wealth or threat, but through courage. Quiet, unshakable courage. And she realized that this was only the beginning. The following morning, the city of Ilithar shimmered under the pale light of its twin suns. Energy bridges pulsed softly, and floating vehicles glided silently above the towers. Within the council halls, whispers had already begun. Everyone in the galaxy knew humans were rare visitors. Few had ever seen one handle diplomacy in a room filled with powerful alien leaders. But now, the whispers carried a new tone. Curiosity, astonishment, and most quietly concern. Princess Lysara entered the hall early, her robe flowing like liquid silver. She watched as Adrian prepared for the next session. Today's discussion was far more sensitive than yesterday's, an alliance treaty that would define the next decade of interstellar politics. Several alien delegates, known for their xenophobic tendencies, were present. Their long, slender fingers tapped on their tables, their eyes flickering with a barely concealed intent to intimidate. They had planned to use Adrian as an example, expecting him to falter, to make mistakes under pressure. The session began. The xenophobic faction spoke first, their voices smooth, but edged with subtle threat. Humanity claims to seek peace, yet your species has history of conflict. How can we trust such a fragile race with our alliances? Many of the alien delegates leaned forward, anticipating a faltering human reply. But Adrian did not hesitate. He looked directly at the lead xenophobic speaker and spoke with calm authority. "Fragility is not weakness," he said. "Strength is measured by courage, wisdom, and the ability to make decisions under pressure. Humanity has faced challenges, yet we endure and learn from every experience. That is our strength." A hush fell over the hall. No human had ever spoken with such clarity or confidence in front of the council. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. Some tried to hide it. Others failed. Even Lysara, who had expected impressive diplomacy, felt her chest tighten in surprise. The xenophobic delegate's voice sharpened. "Your words are bold, but words alone are not enough. We need proof. How can we be sure humans can handle real responsibility? Fragile beings often crumble when tested." Adrian remained calm. "Actions prove more than words. I am here to listen, to understand, and to propose solutions that respect all parties. If I cannot demonstrate humanity's capability through negotiation, then you will have your answer." The audacity stunned the council. Humans were not known for fearlessness. Yet Adrian's words carried a quiet authority. No one could call him timid. Some delegates muttered under their breath, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Princess Lysara leaned forward, her eyes studying him. There was something mesmerizing about his courage, something she had never encountered before in all the creatures she had met, and for the first time, she questioned her own assumptions. Could a species so small, so underestimated, truly possess a strength beyond what appearances suggested? The discussion continued. The aliens attempted to corner Adrian with complex treaties, hidden clauses, and veiled threats. He navigated each challenge with precision, carefully analyzing each statement and responding with measured clarity. When faced with a particularly aggressive delegate, trying to use alien custom to intimidate him, Adrian countered politely but firmly, turning their own protocol into a tool of logic. "You assume fear will dictate my response," he said calmly. "But my species values clarity and understanding above intimidation. If we are to work together, respect and honesty must guide us." A ripple of murmurs spread across the room. Several delegates glanced at one another, realizing that the human was not only unafraid, but also intellectually agile. Lysara's heart raced with a strange mixture of admiration and disbelief. She had seen many diplomats come and go, some cunning, some cruel, but none like this human, who balanced bravery with thoughtfulness. Suddenly, the xenophobic faction escalated. The lead delegates slammed their clawed hand onto the table, sending a minor shockwave through the hall. "Enough of your words. You will submit to the council's judgment, or face exclusion from all discussions." Most humans would have hesitated, or even backed down, overwhelmed by the threat. But Adrian remained composed. His voice did not rise, and he did not flinch. "Exclusion does not solve disagreement," he replied evenly. "It prevents cooperation. I am not here to dominate or obey. I am here to negotiate in good faith. If your goal is to reach a resolution that benefits all parties, fear and intimidation will only delay progress." The hall fell silent. Even the xenophobic delegate, who had expected to see the human crumble, felt an unfamiliar uncertainty. Adrian's courage was unshakable. His reasoning sound, every gesture, every word, every calm breath conveyed a confidence no alien had expected from a species so underestimated. Lysara could no longer contain her fascination. After centuries of seeing rulers, warriors, and diplomats rely on status, intimidation, and tradition, she was witnessing something new. Courage that did not demand power, but inspired it. She leaned slightly forward, wishing she could observe more closely, yet cautious not to reveal her emotions. The debate continued, but the mood in the council shifted subtly. Delegates who had planned to belittle humans now hesitated, unsure if their old methods of fear and mockery would succeed. Adrian's calm, reasoned courage was altering the dynamics of the room in real time. As the session neared its end, an aide approached Princess Lasara. Princess. Ambassador Cole's handling of the session has left the Council in unusual agreement. They are reconsidering previous stances on the alliance. She nodded, keeping her expression neutral. I have noticed, she said softly. He is remarkable. The human diplomat, unaware of the ripple of influence he had caused, stood quietly, taking careful notes, observing the reactions of alien delegates. He did not boast, he did not gloat. He simply acted with the same steady logic that had carried him through countless negotiations on Earth. After the session, Lasara requested a private meeting with Adrian. She found him in a quiet corridor, reviewing documents and preparing for the next series of discussions. You are very unshakable, she said. As she approached, Adrian looked up, giving a small, polite smile. I try to remain focused. Fear rarely helps in delicate situations. You could have faltered at any moment, Lasara continued. The xenophobic delegates. They expected you to crumble, yet you did not. How is this possible? Adrian considered her question. Perhaps it is experience, but mostly it is belief. Belief that courage matters more than appearances, that truth and respect can guide decisions better than fear. I do not assume victory, but I refuse to yield to intimidation. Lasara studied him silently. The honesty in his eyes, combined with unwavering calm, left her both impressed and uneasy. She had been raised to trust power, manipulation, and control, but Adrian seemed to rely on something far subtler: integrity and courage. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. A minor faction within the Council had discovered irregularities in the alliance treaty and threatened to disrupt the summit unless immediate action was taken. Panic spread among some delegates, who feared that any delay could escalate into open conflict. Adrian rose calmly. Show me the details. Let's resolve this together. Within moments, he had analyzed the situation, suggested corrections to the treaty language, and proposed a compromise that addressed the concerns of the faction without harming the overall agreement. The delegates, initially skeptical, had little choice but to accept the solution. Lasara watched in silent amazement. One human, using reason, courage, and diplomacy alone, had prevented a potential crisis. The council members, who had planned to dismiss humanity as weak, now regarded Adrian with cautious respect. As the day ended, Lasara walked with him back toward his quarters. The twin suns were setting, casting long, golden reflections across the floating towers. The city was alive with the glow of energy and anticipation. You change the way people see humans, Lasara said softly. I hope so, Adrian replied. We are small and easily underestimated. But sometimes, perception changes when courage is shown. That is all I can do. Act with integrity and hope others see value in it. For the first time, Lasara felt a sense of admiration she had never experienced. She realized that humanity's strength was not in weapons, fleets, or technology, but in something deeper. Unshakable courage in the face of fear, calm intelligence under pressure, and the ability to inspire others simply by standing firm. That night, Lasara could not sleep. She walked the corridors of her palace, replaying every moment of the day. The human diplomat had demonstrated something extraordinary, something her people had rarely seen in others. Courage that was both quiet and profound. And deep inside, she wondered how far that courage could reach, not just within the council, but across the galaxy. She did not yet understand the full impact of Adrian's actions, but she knew one thing with certainty: humans were not what she had expected. They were stronger, braver, and more unyielding than she had ever imagined. And this realization unsettled her in a way she could not ignore. The galaxy, she realized, was about to see humans in a very different light. The following morning, the city of Ilithar shimmered with the soft glow of its twin suns. The council halls, usually a place of debate and negotiation, were now tense with unease. Whispers spread like wildfire, Some delegates had discovered that a faction within the council was plotting to destabilize the summit entirely. Their aim was clear: to sabotage the treaty, discredit the human diplomat, and assert dominance over the galaxy. Princess Lysara walked along the balcony above the central hall, her silver robes catching the light. She felt a mixture of concern and anticipation. She had come to respect Adrian's courage and intelligence, but this threat was far more dangerous than any debate. The xenophobic faction had grown bold, and their plans were subtle, hidden behind layers of protocol. Only someone with keen insight could see them. Adrian Cole, unaware of the brewing danger until his aides alerted him, remained calm. He read through the reports with steady hands, his eyes scanning for patterns others might miss. Most humans would have panicked at the thought of a plot threatening the lives of countless delegates, but Adrian treated it as a challenge to solve, not a crisis to fear. "Tell me everything you know," he said quietly. His voice carried authority, yet no trace of anxiety. The aides explained the threat. The faction planned to release a sophisticated hacking virus into the council's systems. It could lock communications, disrupt energy flows, and even trigger minor environmental hazards within the floating towers. If successful, the summit would collapse, and hostilities could erupt across the galaxy. Adrian nodded. "We can prevent that. We must act carefully and decisively. Fear will not help. Strategy will." The princess watched him from the balcony. There was something remarkable about his calmness. Others would have trembled, or acted hastily. Adrian's courage was quiet but absolute, like a mountain standing firm while storms raged around it. Lysara realized that courage was not just about facing battle, it was about clarity and composure, in moments when failure could cost everything. Adrian convened a small team of humans and trusted alien aides. Together, they traced the source of the virus to a hidden node within the council's network. The xenophobic faction had tried to mask their activities, but their overconfidence had left small patterns for an observant mind to detect. Adrian analyzed each step, giving precise instructions. "Divide into 2 teams," he said. "One secures the communication systems. The other isolates the node. We move simultaneously. Timing is critical." The teams moved quickly, following his commands with precision. As the alien delegates watched, unaware of the danger, Adrian remained in the control room, coordinating the operation. His calmness inspired confidence in everyone around him. Even the aliens, who had doubted humanity's capabilities, began to trust his judgment. Suddenly, alarms blared. A spike in the energy grid indicated the faction had activated part of the virus. Lights flickered, and minor power surges ran along the bridges connecting the towers. Panic threatened to spread, but Adrian's steady voice cut through the chaos. "Focus on your tasks," he said. "Panic is the enemy. Follow the plan." The teams worked in perfect synchronization, guided by Adrian's instructions. Slowly, the virus was isolated, contained, and neutralized. By the time the xenophobic faction realized their plan had failed, it was too late. Adrian had not only stopped the sabotage but had done so without alarming the council or causing harm to the delegates. Lysara, watching the operation from the balcony, felt awe mixed with disbelief. One human had prevented a crisis that could have escalated into interstellar conflict. His courage, intelligence, and unflinching composure had made the impossible possible. After the crisis, Adrian addressed the council. His words were calm, respectful, but carried undeniable authority. "The attempted sabotage has been neutralized," he said. "We can continue the summit with confidence. Humanity believes in cooperation, integrity, and the safety of all parties. Let us move forward together, without fear or hesitation." The hall erupted into quiet murmurs of approval. Some delegates nodded in respect, while others remained cautious. But no one could deny the effectiveness of Adrian's actions. Princess Lysara approached him afterward, her eyes shining with admiration. You handled that perfectly. I have never seen anyone remain so calm under such pressure." Adrian shook his head slightly. "It was not perfect. It was necessary. Panic would have been worse than any virus. Courage is not about never being afraid. It is about acting wisely, despite fear. She studied him, feeling a shift in her understanding. Humans were more than fragile beings. They were capable of extraordinary courage, tempered by thought and intelligence. The strength she had once doubted was now undeniable. The council reconvened. The xenophobic faction tried to argue, claiming the virus incident was exaggerated. But Adrian countered with clear evidence, logical explanations, and careful reasoning. His courage was not loud or aggressive, it was quiet, firm, and impossible to ignore. Over the next few hours, the council began to see the value of humanity's perspective. Delegates who had intended to dismiss Adrian's opinions now listened carefully. Allies formed, compromises were reached, and tentative agreements emerged. Adrian's calm bravery had not only stopped a crisis but had also reshaped political alliances. Princess Lysara walked with him through the corridors later, the golden light of the setting suns reflecting off the towers. "You changed the outcome of the summit," she said softly, "and perhaps even the perception of your species." Adrian glanced at her, his expression modest. "I only acted as I could. Humans are underestimated often, but that does not mean we cannot act when it matters." She smiled faintly, a mixture of respect and intrigue in her gaze. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met. Most would cower, most would flee, most would falter, yet you faced everything calmly. I do not know how to explain it." "It is not mystery," Adrian replied. "It is choice. Courage is a choice, and reason guides it. That is all." The princess remained silent for a moment, reflecting on his words. She realized that this human was not just brave, he was a symbol of what her own people had overlooked for too long. Humans were small in appearance but immense in potential. They could face threats, solve problems, and inspire respect through sheer courage and clarity. That night, Lysara could not sleep. She wandered the palace corridors, recalling every moment of the crisis. Every decision Adrian had made, every calm instruction, every moment of unshakable bravery replayed in her mind. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, she realized. But one human diplomat had already begun to change that. For Lysara, the day had been transformative. She had witnessed courage that did not rely on power, authority, or fear. She had seen calmness that could steer events away from disaster, and she had felt a spark of something new, admiration, curiosity, and a growing understanding of what humans were truly capable of. She returned to her chambers, her thoughts restless. The summit would continue tomorrow, but the true challenge had only just begun. Adrian's presence had already shifted the balance of power, not with weapons or threats, but with courage, intelligence, and unshakable composure. And Lysara realized something even more unsettling. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The day of the final council session arrived, with a golden glow over Ilithar. The floating city shimmered as energy bridges pulsed gently, connecting the towers like threads of light. Princess Lysara walked through the corridors with purpose, her silver robes flowing behind her. The previous days had been tense, yet extraordinary. Adrian Cole, the human diplomat, had demonstrated courage and intelligence that no delegate could ignore. The council chamber was alive with anticipation. Delegates whispered among themselves, their opinions of humanity shifting subtly after witnessing Adrian's actions. Some still doubted, clinging to old prejudices. Others were intrigued, eager to see how the human would handle the final negotiations for the Interstellar Alliance Treaty. Adrian arrived quietly, his expression calm as ever. His presence carried an understated authority, the kind that inspired trust and respect without raising fear. Princess Lysara observed him from the balcony, her curiosity and admiration mingling with a sense of anticipation. She had seen him act with courage in the face of sabotage, and now the entire council's attention was on him. The session began. Today, the xenophobic faction had one final plan: to challenge humanity's right to participate in galactic decision-making. They presented evidence of old conflicts on Earth, painting humans as unpredictable and dangerous. Their tone was sharp, designed to provoke fear. Adrian listened silently, letting their words fill the room without flinching. When they finished, he rose and spoke with calm authority. "History is a record of mistakes and lessons," he said. "Humanity has faced challenges, endured hardships, and learned from every failure. We are not perfect, but neither is any species. The measure of value is not in fear, but in courage, integrity, and the willingness to act wisely when it matters." The delegates were quiet, struck by the human's calm reasoning. Words alone were not enough to convince them, but his demeanor, steady and confident, spoke volumes. This was not arrogance. This was quiet courage, rooted in experience and choice. Princess Lysara stepped down from the balcony and approached him as he continued. "Your courage, it is unlike anything I have seen," she said softly. Adrian glanced at her briefly, then returned his attention to the council. "I ask you to judge humanity not by appearances, but by actions. Look at what has been done in these past days. When faced with sabotage, humans acted with clarity and precision. When faced with hostility, we acted with respect and courage. If you judge by actions, I believe you will see value in our participation." The room was silent for a moment. Then, one by one, delegates began to nod, discussing quietly among themselves. The xenophobic faction realized their plan was failing. Fear and intimidation could not sway this human. Courage, logic, and integrity had turned the tide. Princess Lysara watched the council's transformation with awe. She realized that humans were underestimated not because they lacked ability, but because their strength was subtle and unique. Courage was not loud or aggressive, it was steadfast, measured, and inspiring. As the session progressed, compromises were reached. The alliance treaty was finalized, incorporating provisions that benefited all species while maintaining fairness and balance. The human perspective had been crucial, not only in preventing sabotage but in guiding discussions toward constructive solutions. When the session ended, the council convened for a final vote. For the first time in the history of Ilithar, humans were not only recognized as participants, they were respected as equals. The delegates voted unanimously in favor of the treaty. Adrian's calm courage had earned humanity a permanent place in interstellar diplomacy. Princess Lysara approached him privately afterward. The glow of the setting suns cast long reflections across the floating towers, bathing the city in gold and violet. "You have changed the council's perception of humanity," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "And perhaps even the course of galactic history." Adrian smiled faintly. "I only acted as I could. Courage is a choice, and humanity has always chosen it when it mattered." She studied him silently, realizing how extraordinary humans truly were. Their strength was not in fleets or weapons, but in the courage to act with integrity, even when surrounded by doubt and danger. She felt respect and fascination intertwining with a sense of something more, an acknowledgement that humans could inspire change in ways her own people had long overlooked. As night fell, the city of Ilithar sparkled like a constellation of living lights. Delegates returned to their homes, and the floating towers hummed softly with energy. The summit had ended, but the impact of Adrian's actions would resonate across the galaxy. Humanity's courage, intellect, and composure had reshaped perceptions, proving that even a seemingly small species could hold great influence. Princess Lysara stood alone on the balcony, gazing at the stars. She thought of Adrian, of the quiet determination that had carried him through every challenge. She realized that courage, when combined with intelligence and integrity, could change more than minds. It could change worlds. The next morning, she found Adrian preparing to depart. The human had accomplished everything with calm professionalism. Yet there was no arrogance in his demeanor. "You will be remembered," she said softly, "not just by your people, but by the galaxy." Adrian looked at her, his expression humble. "I hope only that my actions have shown that humanity is capable. The rest is up to the galaxy itself." She nodded, a quiet smile on her lips. For the first time, she felt a deep appreciation for humans, not just for their courage, but for the way they could inspire others without demanding it. As the transport pod prepared to lift Adrian from the city, delegates approached to offer thanks and respect. Some shook his hand, others bowed in a gesture of recognition. The xenophobic faction, though still cautious, could no longer dismiss humanity. The courage of one human had shifted the balance of opinion across countless species. Princess Lysara stepped forward, her silver robe catching the first light of the twin suns. "Adrian," she said, her voice gentle yet clear. "You have shown me that courage is not measured by size or strength, but by the heart and the mind. I will not forget this." He smiled softly. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what any human would hope to do, act with integrity and courage when it matters most." As the pod lifted, she watched him disappear into the sky, reflecting on the lessons learned. Humans were underestimated at their own risk. Their courage, intelligence, and composure could inspire entire species, shape treaties, and prevent disaster. The galaxy, she realized, would never see humanity the same way again. One human had proven that even the smallest actions, taken with courage and clarity, could leave a legacy that spanned the stars. That night, Lysara walked the corridors of her palace, thinking about the future. The alliance treaty was secure, the xenophobic faction subdued, and the council had a newfound respect for humans. Yet she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity's role in the galaxy had been established not through fear or force, but through quiet, unshakable courage. She paused on the balcony, looking out over Ilithar as the stars glittered above. The city below glowed like a jewel. Yet it was human courage that now shone brightest in her mind, and she knew that wherever humans went, wherever they stood, they would carry this courage with them, shaping the galaxy in ways no one could predict, inspiring respect, admiration, and perhaps even awe. Princess Lysara smiled to herself. The galaxy had witnessed the unshakable courage of one human diplomat, and it would remember it forever.